Alrighty, how's it going? Just waiting for confirmation that we're live, and I am live now. Live and direct. Harker Heights, Texas. So, I thought I would just take a few moments of your time this afternoon or morning, depending on where you're at. I guess you could be ahead of me too, so afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Just to do a little lighthearted talk here. This isn't going to be anything really formatted. I just wanted to share my heart a little bit and to celebrate recovery and to celebrate the grace of God. It was a big week for me. I had to do a state test for my trade, and I had a fair amount of anxiety and fear around that test because I'd already tried taking it twice and I'd failed. So you only get one more try and then you gotta wait a whole year. So there was oh, my mom's watching. Hi, Mom. So there was a fair amount of anxiety around that. Thankfully, yesterday I went there in the morning and I passed it. So that's behind me now. And let me just tell you, it's like the weight of the world being lifted off my shoulders. So basically that means that I'm licensed now to do the fire alarm service inspection. That's what I've been doing more or less the last 3 or 4 years. And then I'm also, once that's official, which it really shouldn't be any reason that it won't be official, I'll be able to inspect the fire extinguishers also. So I'll be able to provide more services for my company, provide more services to the customers that we deal with. So it was something that they had strongly encouraged me to get. So I'm glad I have it. But also, it was another big week because on Friday, October the 1st, I had 10 years of recovery, 10 years sobriety, 10 years no drug, no alcohol use, which is a pretty big deal, 10 years being a decade. So I wanted to get on here, do a little bit of just a testimony, a little bit of a share. Like I said, nothing too formal. And just kind of talk about what that's looked like, maybe for 15, 20 minutes, and then cut it there. So I'm going to post this on a few different pages once it's done. I'll post it to Bible-Based Recovery. And I was going to put it on my own personal page, try to let some different people hear the message, share the message of hope with some different people. That's really what we're doing in apologetics, right? We're sharing the reason for our hope. That's what it talks about in 1 Peter 3:15. We're sharing the reason for our hope, or we're defending the reason for our hope. And also when we do recovery talks, if you've been around, you know this, and if you don't, if you haven't been around, you might not know, but it's also often called sharing your experience, strength, and hope. So it's kind of like, where you were, where you are, and where you want to be, right? Like where you want to be in your recovery. So you get a little bit of your past, and a little bit of your future, and a little bit of the present. So it's all about promoting hope. Normally when I do these videos, I read a Bible verse or an opening quote and give you guys like a prayer. I like pre-written prayers. I've got a bunch of different prayer books over here, and I'll do something like that. But today I was just gonna read you guys something that I had written in 2017. So I think it was written during the summer because I'd written a bunch of stuff around that time. So that would have been around the 5 years of my sobriety, 5 going on 6. And I was undergoing a number of changes or, worldview alterations at the time. And I'd written a number of poems and prayers. And I'd written this one, I initially called it my testimony, but I've been going through those things, editing them, thinking about maybe trying to do another volume of poems and prayers, because I had done one, I don't know how long now, 3 or 4 years ago, called The Renovation. So I'm toying around with doing renovation number 2, and I'm working with someone in California and maybe getting ready to help them edit and put out some poetry too. And we do this not because we think we're great writers or anything like that, but because we want to encourage people and want to be of service. So let me read this and then kind of talk about how recovery has been for me these last 10 years. So I'm calling this the recovery call. It used to be my testimony, but now it's called the recovery call. So this is where I'm called to find you. This is where I come to see all you have in store for those you're setting free from misease and affliction, the tyranny of addiction, denial and deception, suicidal obsessions. I'd run from all your goodness, the comfort of your arms. Here I find my satisfaction in grace to clean up ancient wrongs. I will be a candle, a compound on the hill to light the narrow way, to guide the lost in goodwill. Take every sleepless week, my perverse drunken nights, strip me of the weakness which bogs down my mind, that I might serve my neighbors and enemies each time. I've had enough of nothingness. Take my will and life. And here's my testimony, etched in sweat and spit. Though I've been saved from the past, I carry no regrets. So many times I've backslidden, so many petty crimes. With the answers within reach, I learned to walk the line. And take my will, take my life, level all the pride, which so often holds me back from standing by your side. Here's my testimony, laid down for better use. I have everything I'll ever need because everything is found in you. Take my will, take my life, redefine my angry mind. Train my hands to be of use as I serve you with my time. So that's the recovery call. Recovery all. Okay, so yeah, October 1st, 2011, when I entered into recovery. That was back in Campbell, California, San Jose, California. That's where I'm from. I've been in Texas now for about, well, since February, so 8 or 9 months. So the bulk of my time has been in Campbell, San Jose, like I said, the Bay Area, and I think I was pretty active over there, and I think a few people know me. Whether or not anyone remembers me, that's really beside the point. But, you know, recovery has been important to me. My whole life's been built on this. I have a pretty good life right now. You know, I have a wife. I have 2 kids that are healthy and full of energy and rambunctious. Those are all gifts of recovery. I wasn't married when I came in, didn't have kids when I came in. I got a pretty good job today. I have a career. Didn't have that coming in. Now I work for a company that I really enjoy working for, and I'm coming up on about, 2 years of working for them. Started with them in San Jose, and they've transferred me over to Texas. That was a big deal for me that, they've invested in me. I invested a lot of time in them, and that they, saw fit to transfer me over here. So that's all just kind of some of the products of recovery. Now, 10 years of recovery, that's a lot of time to do a lot of good things, and it's, a lot of time to do some wrong things. So when I was getting ready to do this, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I look back on 10 years, and I see a lot of hard work, no doubt. I see a lot of growth. I see a lot of progress. I like to think I'm not the same guy today that I was 10 years ago. I hope I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago. And looking back, I see a lot of going to recovery meetings, but I also see a fair amount of times of not going to recovery meetings, right? So I see times of being close to recovery, and I see times when I was probably further away than I should have been, right? So I'm saying that because, dude, I'm not a saint, and I probably haven't worked this as good and as well as some people have. But that's my story, and I share those things again. That's experience, that's strength, that's hope. I've worked with a lot of people, but I also have times when I didn't work with a lot of people. I've taken a lot of moral inventories. I've done a lot of 12 steps, but I have also had times when I haven't done a lot of 12 steps. I've had times of being mentored, also had times when I was not being mentored. I've had times of being a sponsor, but I've had times when I wasn't sponsoring, right? So I say that because I think we all go through that, but I also say that because I know where my recovery comes from. Now it's good to go to meetings. It's good to do this 12 steps or whatever recovery you're involved with, whatever program you're involved with. It's good to do those things. I'm not encouraging anybody not to do those things. Do those things and do them like your life depends on it, right? I'm only saying this because God has been good to me and he's kept me clean. So I like to make the joke that God is far better at recovery than I'll ever be, and that's the fact of the matter, right? God kept me in recovery when I was close to recovery, and it was still God keeping me in recovery when I was far from recovery, when I was further from it than I should have been. So AA, there's a quote that for sober today, it's far more God than it is us. That's me butchering it, but it's given to remind us where our help comes from, and also to help humble us, that we know that our success is far greater God's than it is ours. We're not sober because of the amount of step work we've done. We're not sober because we're sponsoring 12 guys. We're speaking at a meeting every night a week. We're secretarying 5 meetings a week. That's all good stuff. I think those are expressions of recovery. But we're clean and sober because God is good to us and he gives us the gift of recovery. And in 10 years, I've seen quite a few people relapse, backslide, however you want to put that. I've had almost, majority of my friends, majority of the people I've worked with, majority of the people that I'd see at meetings. I've had people that were really impactful for me in my first few months and days and weeks of recovery. I watched them go back out to doing what they were doing. I've even had mentors. I've had mentors that have gone back out. And sometimes I'll sit there and think why them and not me? And I think that's normal. I think it's like you go to a funeral, you start contemplating your own mortality, right? I think that's what you do. And I hear about these relapses, I hear about these people fall away, and I say, well, God, why them and not me? Why that person? They were doing X, Y, and Z. Why this person? They were doing X, Y, and Z. Why that person? They were doing X, Y, and Z. And I haven't even been doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure there's a number of reasons it's the addiction, it was self-will. Some of them might have wanted to go back, or they just gave in, or whatever it was. I always see those things and it humbles me because I'm like, dude, if that person can go back out, that means I can go back out just as quick as they went back out. Because I know that none of us are bulletproof. I know that relapse can very well be a part of recovery. It's a lot of people's stories, and it could very well be a part of my story. And it really is, because this isn't my first go at this thing. I had about, a year and a half, 2 years when I was 19 to 21 or 22 or so. I had a few years clean and sober through a different organization and program that I'm not going to get into. But that it didn't last. I went back out probably for 3 or 4 years. So I got clean and sober when I was, I think, 26. I'm 36 now, so I got clean and sober when I was 26. But from that 22 to 26 or 21, whatever it was, 21 to 26, I did a lot of things that I regret doing. I started using drugs again, started drinking again, got a DUI, got arrested, all that fun stuff you hear people talk about. You get loaded, things get worse. Sure. Homelessness. Sure. Loss of friends. Sure. Doing things that I never thought I would do. Stealing from people. Using people. Mistreating people. Getting loaded at the wrong times. Getting loaded at the wrong times, even though the consequences were always there. So I look at relapse and I take it seriously, and that's why I've written about it. I do videos about it. God willing, we're going to do a little interview here in a few weeks with a friend, a brother, who's been around the program for quite some time. They had a chunk of change, they had a little bit of time under their belt, and they went back out. So we're going to interview that person, like just the experience with that, maybe so we can gain some pointers, some tips to hear some experience, strength, and hope, right? And to remind us all that we're not fall proof. None of us are fall proof, and the only reason we're standing is because of the grace of God. So that's what I think about when I think about recoveries these days. I think about where I've been, and I think about where I'm at now, and I also think about how quick I could lose those things, right? Because like I said, I've seen people who are much further along than me throw it all away, lose all those things that I cherish. I've seen them lose those things and throw those things away. But they talk about it in recovery. Your life today, it could fit in a shot glass, right? You might say that at AA, or if we go to an NA meeting, they might say things like, well, your life today can fit in a bag of dope or a bag of drugs. It's that easy to throw it away. Whatever your compulsion is, it's that easy to throw away. And going back to that can mean the loss of everything that you've accomplished, right? I've seen guys lose their families. I've seen them lose their jobs, lose their houses, lose their sanity. I've seen men die. I've seen women die. I've seen more than that than I would obviously care to see. But it's a part of this recovery life. I didn't speak at the meeting, but I talked briefly at the NA meeting a couple weeks ago, and I had brought that up that in recovery we see new life, but in recovery we witness death. We see death in recovery also. So that means the death of loved ones. Yes, grandma, sister. I've had family pass away in these last 10 years. I've also seen men and women in the program die over these last 10 years. Some of them clean and sober. Sure, some of them made it. Some of them stayed until the end. But some of them went back out and overdosed and died. So you see life, but then again, like I've seen my children be born. I've seen other men and women having new marriages, new children, new grandchildren, right? Seeing lives being built from nothing, lives from the gutter to a good life. I've seen that too. So you see life, you see death. We see joy, we see pain. We see happiness, but we see depression, right? We see life advancing, but it's not uncommon to hear about suicides in recovery. And that's something I'd like to do a little bit of work around is a Christian response to suicide. Because it's a serious issue, it's a serious matter. I think we got to have an opinion on those things, and we got to have a voice for those things, and we got to have an answer for those things, because it happens outside of the church. And we all know it happens inside the church too. There's darkness, there's despair everywhere we look. And that's a fact of life. So I'm just grateful that over the last 10 years, even when I've been in the despair, the depression, I haven't gone back to the darkness. I thank God for that. I haven't gone back to the darkness. And it's not that I haven't wanted to, and it's not that I haven't seriously thought about it and been tempted and been afraid that I was going to. It's just that I didn't pick up no matter what. And that's really what it comes down to. Call it white knuckling, whatever you want to call it. It's just that not picking up no matter what. And sometimes that's tested. It might be in the moment. You might have the bottle open. You might have already purchased the stuff. But it's to not drink. It's to not get loaded no matter what. And that's really the key for the long-term sobriety, is just hell or high water. You don't pick up no matter what. And if you do, you get back up, right? And if you do, you get back up and you get back on the horse as quick as you possibly can, right? Try not to hang out the guilt, the shame, the despair. Try not to hang out and get back up, because I was telling a buddy the other day, I'm never shocked when somebody does relapse. That's very, very rarely shocking. it obviously humbles me and makes me, think about some stuff. But I'm more shocked when I hear about people staying clean long term. That's really what shocks me more than anything else, is hearing that people are making it, hearing that people are standing firm, that he, she, him, her, they're staying clean no matter what. That's what shocks me. That's what surprises me. So I think with that, like I said, I was going to try to keep it close, or keep it short, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Like I said, I'm just, I'm so grateful to be here. 10 years, grateful to have that under my belt. Grateful for what I have, grateful that I passed that state test. Man, it was eating me alive. I was like obsessed with it. I'm glad I finally passed it. So I hope you guys got something out of that. I know it was kind of all over the place, but like I said, I'm just kind of sharing my heart and letting my guts spill out a little bit. So yeah, reach out to me, hit me up here, and I'll see you guys around. Have a good one.